Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, today I want to talk about something powerful, something divine, something that reaches beyond the limits of what your eyes can see or what your hands can hold. The title of my message is Chosen One, You Are Generationally Rich. Don't worry. You see, when God chooses someone, He doesn't just choose them for a moment. He chooses them for a mission. He doesn't just bless them for their lifetime. He sets in motion blessings that flow through generations. You may look at your life right now and say, but I don't see the riches. I don't see the breakthrough. Yet God says, you are already rich because I have placed something eternal within you. The enemy wants you to focus on what thy lack, but heaven calls you to remember what you carry. You are not ordinary. You are not forgotten. You are the chosen vessel through whom God will pour His favor, His wisdom, and His abundance, not just for you, but for your children and your children's children. Don't worry. Your legacy is already written in the book of destiny. If this message has stirred something deep within your spirit, then don't just stop here. Keep walking this journey of purpose and power with us. Follow the channel for more words that lift, awaken, and remind you of who you truly are, a chosen one destined for greatness. Hit that subscribe button, comment the 99 below if you're standing with the chosen ones, and let's fill this space with faith, fire, and victory. Like this video, if you believe that your story is far from over, that your breakthrough is on its way, and that God's hand is upon your life, together we rise higher, stronger, and richer in spirit, purpose, and destiny. You are chosen for a divine purpose. Those words are not simply encouragement, they are a declaration from heaven itself. Before you ever took your first breath, before anyone knew your name, the Creator of the universe had already written your story with intention and power. You are not a random occurrence or an accident of time. You are a divine appointment on earth. God has placed something within you that carries eternal value, something the world needs, something only you can bring forth. The enemy may try to convince you that you're insignificant, that your past disqualifies you, or that your struggles mean you've failed, but all of that is a lie meant to distract you from your calling. Being chosen does not mean life will be easy. It means your life has meaning. Every challenge, every delay, every setback has been allowed not to break you, but to shape you into the vessel God needs for this generation. When you understand that you are chosen, your perspective changes. You stop asking, why me? And begin saying, use me. You begin to see that even your pain has purpose. The tears you've cried have watered the ground of your destiny. The moments you thought were wasted are being redeemed in ways you can't yet see. Divine purpose isn't about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about allowing yourself to be molded by the hands of the one who created you. Every gift you have, every passion that burns within you, every dream that refuses to die, all of it points to a greater mission. The fact that you've survived what others couldn't is proof that you carry something powerful inside you. Chosen ones are often tested deeply because their impact will reach far. You've been set apart not for comfort, but for calling. You may look around and see others running ahead, achieving more, or appearing stronger, but remember, the chosen path is not about comparison. God's timing for your life is not delayed, it is divine. The doors you thought were closed may have been protection, not rejection. The waiting seasons are not empty, they are sacred spaces where your faith roots. The chosen ones often walk lonely roads because their destiny cannot be crowded. When you carry divine purpose, you begin to realize that nothing about you is ordinary. The way you think, the way you feel deeply, the way you're drawn to help others, even the way you've endured, these are all signs of divine fingerprints. Heaven has marked you for influence, not just in wealth or status, but in legacy. Choices you make today echo in eternity because chosen ones don't just live for the moment, they live for impact. You are chosen to bring light where there's darkness, speak life where there's death, to walk in faith where others walk in fear. You are chosen to stand when others fall, to believe when others doubt, and to persevere when others quit. Every experience, every lesson, every scar has been preparing you for such a time as this. Don't let temporary struggle define eternal promise. What you are facing right now is not the end of your story. It's simply a chapter in the divine plan that is still unfolding. Too often, we look at our current pain and assume it is permanent. We measure our worth by the weight of our problems, forgetting that the promise of God is not canceled by hardship. Struggles are not proof of failure. They are the training ground for greatness. Every chosen one must walk through seasons of refining, because gold is never pure until it passes through the fire. The same fire that burns away the unnecessary also reveals what is real, strong, and unshakable within you. When you face struggle, you have two choices: to see it as punishment or to see it as preparation. Those who understand that pain is part of purpose begin to walk differently. They don't crumble under pressure, they grow. You see, temporary struggle has a strange way of making eternal promise clearer. When everything you rely on begins to fall apart, you are left with one unchanging truth: God's word still stands. The circumstances might seem impossible, but heaven is whispering, just wait. What looks like delay is often divine timing. What feels like loss is often hidden protection. The storm doesn't mean God has forgotten you. It means he is forming something stronger within you. Seeds cannot grow without being buried, and promises cannot mature without being tested. Sometimes you have to walk through the valley so that you can learn the strength that was never visible on the mountain. Temporary struggle may bruise you, it will not break you. The pain that seems unbearable now will one day become the testimony that lifts others out of despair. The tears you cry today are watering the harvest of tomorrow. When you are chosen, resistance is inevitable. The enemy fights what he fears, and he fears what carries purpose. That's why the pressure seems greater on you than on others, because what's inside you carries generational weight. The dream you carry is not small, and neither is the warfare surrounding it. Even in the midst of battle, you are not abandoned. Heaven equips those it calls. Every wound you've endured, every disappointment you've faced is shaping you into a vessel that can hold greater glory. Temporary struggle can distort your vision if you let it, making you forget who you are and whose you are. That's why it's important to fix your eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. The promise of God is eternal. It outlasts pain, time, and circumstance. What he spoke over your life will come to pass, not because of your strength, but because of his faithfulness. Struggle may delay the promise, but it cannot deny it. You are walking through something that will one day make sense in ways you cannot yet understand. What looks like a breakdown is often the birthplace of breakthrough. What feels like the end is usually the moment heaven begins to move. Faith activates unseen blessings. It is the bridge between what you hope for and what God has already prepared for you. Faith is not about seeing the evidence. It is about believing the promise even when there is no sign of it yet. Many people wait for proof before they believe, but the chosen understand that belief itself is the proof. When you choose faith, you align yourself with heaven's reality rather than the limitations of this world. Faith is not emotion, it is conviction. It's the quiet confidence that what God said will happen, even when everything else says it won't. Faith moves mountains not because of your power, but because it connects you to divine power, a key that unlocks the invisible doors of God's abundance. Without faith, even great potential remains dormant. With faith, even the impossible becomes possible. When you operate in faith, you stop asking how and start declaring when. You stop analyzing the obstacles and start anticipating the outcome. Faith doesn't deny reality. It declares a higher reality. It reminds you that your circumstances are temporary, but God's promises are eternal. The blessings of God often remain unseen until faith calls them forth. What you see with your physical eyes may look like lack, but faith sees abundance. What looks like sickness, faith sees healing. What looks like delay, faith sees divine timing. Heaven responds not to fear, to faith. Every step of faith sends a signal to the spiritual realm that you are ready to receive what was already set aside for you. That's why the enemy works so hard to attack your belief, because if he can shake your faith, he can slow your manifestation. Faith is not passive waiting, it is active trust. It moves you to act on what you believe even before the evidence appears. Noah built the ark before a single drop of rain fell. Abraham left his home without knowing where he was going. These were not acts of blind foolishness. They were acts of faith that activated blessings for generations to come. What you do in faith today can open doors for your children tomorrow. Every time you choose to trust God instead of doubting Him, you are building a spiritual inheritance that cannot be taken away. Faith also grows through pressure. It's easy to believe when life feels comfortable, but true faith is tested in the dark. When God seems silent, that's when faith speaks loudest. When everything looks impossible, that's when faith becomes unshakable. The very moments that make you question if God is with you are often the moments He is working most deeply within you. Faith does not always bring immediate results, but it always brings eternal impact. You don't have to have perfect faith, just persistent faith. Even a mustard seed can move mountains because it carries divine potential. Faith is the language of heaven, and when you speak it, creation responds. What seems invisible today will one day become undeniable because faith always calls forth what the eye cannot yet see. Your legacy is written in heaven. Long before you were born, God inscribed your name and your destiny in His eternal plan. Nothing that happens in your life takes Him by surprise because your path was designed with purpose and precision. Heaven has already declared your victory before you ever faced your battles. You are not living to create meaning. You are living to reveal the meaning that was already written over your life. Story of your legacy doesn't begin when people recognize you. It begins when you recognize what God has placed inside you. Legacy is not about possessions, it's about purpose. It's not about what you leave in the bank, but what you leave in the hearts of those you touch. The true measure of a life is not the wealth you accumulate, but the faith you activate. When you understand that your legacy is written in heaven, you stop striving for validation from the world. You stop chasing applause that fades, and instead, you start building something that lasts beyond time. The seeds you plant in faith, love, and obedience become eternal fruit that generations will taste. God does not forget the labor of the chosen. Every prayer you've whispered in secret, every act of kindness you've done unseen, every time you chose to forgive when it was hardest. These are recorded in heaven's archives. Your legacy is not built in one great moment of triumph. It's built in the daily decisions to walk with integrity, to love deeply, and to trust when you don't understand. Heaven writes your story in ink that cannot be erased by failure or fear. Even when you stumble, grace rewrites your path so that the promise still stands. Your legacy carries divine fingerprints. The dreams you hold are not just yours. They are heaven's assignments entrusted to you. You have been chosen to break cycles, to lift burdens, to be the answer to prayers spoken long before your birth. That's why the weight feels heavy at times, because the work is holy. The generational blessing that flows through you was not meant to stop with you. It is meant to multiply. When you choose to walk in obedience, heaven uses your life as a bridge between what was broken and what will be restored. You are the continuation of promises spoken to your ancestors and the foundation for blessings your descendants will inherit. Heaven writes in generations, not moments. What you build in faith today will echo through time. The prayers you pray now will cover those who haven't even been born yet. The sacrifices you make will pave the way for others to walk in freedom and favor. When you realize your legacy is eternal, you begin to live intentionally. Every word, every choice, every act becomes a thread in the tapestry of divine destiny. No one can erase what heaven has written. Even when life seems to contradict the promise, the script has already been sealed. Your story is not defined by temporary events, but by eternal truth. Heaven's record of your life is not measured in years, but in impact. You are living proof that what God writes, no force on earth can undo. Worry less. Walk boldly in divine favor. When you truly understand who you are in God, you stop living in fear of what could go wrong and start living in faith of what will go right. Worry is a thief. It steals your peace, your focus, and your energy. It distracts you from the truth that you are already covered by divine favor. Favor means that heaven is working behind the scenes on your behalf, even when you can't see it. It means doors are opening that you didn't even knock on. Opportunities are being prepared that you didn't even ask for. And protection is surrounding you in ways you don't yet realize. Worry comes when you forget who's in control. You were never meant to carry the weight of every outcome. You were meant to trust the one who holds them all. When you walk in divine favor, you move differently. You speak with confidence, not arrogance. You move with peace, not panic. You know that if God brought you this far, He didn't bring you here to leave you. Worry focuses on the problem, but favor focuses on the promise. Worry keeps your eyes on what's missing, but favor keeps your heart on what's coming. When you understand favor, you stop begging and start believing. You stop chasing validation and start resting in identity. Favor means you are chosen not because of perfection, but because of purpose. You don't have to earn it. You just have to walk in it. The enemy tries to convince you that you are unworthy, but divine favor is not about worthiness. It's about willingness. When you surrender your plans for God's plans, favor flows naturally. It's not forced, it's divinely aligned. Walking boldly in favor means you trust God's timing even when it confuses you. Some doors close not because you failed, but because they would have limited your destiny. Some people walk away not because you were unlovable, but because their chapter in your story had to end so a new one could begin. Favor doesn't always look like comfort. Sometimes it looks like redirection. What feels like rejection is often God's way of rerouting you to a greater assignment. That's why you can worry less, because even detours are divine when you're walking in favor. Favor changes how you respond to life. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to say, "What is God doing through me?" You stop reacting out of fear and start responding with faith. You begin to carry a calm confidence that unsettles the enemy because he can't shake someone who knows they're covered. When you realize you walk in divine favor, you stop waiting for perfect conditions to move forward. You step out knowing that wherever your feet touch, grace will meet you there. Divine favor surrounds you like a shield. It goes before you, preparing the way, and it follows you, sealing your blessings. Every closed door, every delayed promise, every unexpected turn is still under the authority of favor. The reason you can walk boldly is because you're not walking alone. The presence of God goes with you. The purpose of heaven flows through you, and the promises of eternity walk beside you every step of the way.